just say. Good morning, everyone. It's 10 a.m. here in Sacramento, which is like actually noon my time back in Tejas. Oh my God, there's a lot of you. Holy crap. There's like, oh my God. Well, good morning, everyone. Hi. Super wasted a perfectly good hour with me here, frittering away your morning with J. Michael Tatum. Yeah, you say that now. The hour's done, you'll be like, why? 60 minutes of my life I shall never get back. Best hour ever? Yeah. Woo! Wow, that's a lot of pressure. Thank you. Thank you. Let's just not do this, guys. I think. So this is a Q&A where you provide Q and I provide A. You don't know what that stands for, ask the person next to you. Chances are they know. They don't, they can ask the person next to them, and so on and so forth, until the people at the very end of each row knows what that means. It's question and answer. So yeah, I think, are we doing the microphone thing where we've got, oh we do, yay! Oh, that's awesome. So if those of you that have questions to ask, you can form a line here in front of the spam man. And you will be on mic. And a couple of rules before we get started with questions. I hope you're all paying attention, those of you clambering into line. I like random questions. I like questions that I haven't answered before. So if you've seen one of my mini YouTube videos, you know who you are. And you've seen me answer the question you're about to ask on a YouTube video. How about we ask another question? I like creative, I like random, I like all kinds of stuff. Also, please, I'm a very lazy person. It's very early, so do not ask me to come down off this table to come hug you or call your best friends, hairdressers, cousins, roommates, grandmother. We could do that later, but not in a panel. Here I just want to sit and focus on how lovely sleep would be right now. I'm kidding. Actually, I had a really good night's sleep, and now I'm all energetic, and I'm like, yay, giggle, he's so weird. This is so crazy. I'm just gonna sit back and do this because there's a microphone. This is the laziest concept in the world. A microphone stand for someone sitting down. So, blah, 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 blah. Are we ready? Are we ready to start? Someone's got a question. The very first question. Hi, darling. That's a statement. You lose. Sit down. No kidding. What's your question, darling?
Do you have any past experiences with drive-thrus and doing voices?
Do I have any past experience in drive-thrus doing voices? Frequently. In fact, I can't bring myself to go through a drive-thru unless I'm doing a voice or several voices. I will usually do. It started out like back in the day when I was recording Inaru on One Piece. One person left. Yay, two! And Inaru is a very big and ridiculous voice, and it was very new for me at the time. And he speaks like this, and he has this ridiculous yahaha laugh, which is very villainous. And it's One Piece, so all the villains have crazy, crazy laughs. And Mike McFarlane, who was directing me on that, would sort of dare me to do ridiculous things with that voice, like order and Jack in the Box drive-thrus. And so what began as me just doing this shtick with Mike evolved into, like, now every time I go through a Jack in the Box drive-thru, it's always like, yes, I would like a number 6 with curly fries and an Oreo cookie shake. And when they ask you will there be anything else, you go, yeah. No, I'm good, thank you. And then that's now evolved into me sometimes pretending to be 4 different people in the car, all ordering over each other for different things, which works really well. When you're like, yeah, do you have cinnamon sticks? Oh, wait a minute. Do they have CLMs? Excuse me. And then just drive around and they're all like, sorry, long story. Just, I want to drive around. I want to do that with friends, like all of us on bicycles. I don't know why. But yes, frequently. My day isn't complete if I can't at least prank someone with my voice. It keeps me sharp. It's a tax write-off. Thank you. Good question to start. Oh, hello, my lord. How are you? reducing well. Good. I don't have any tea for you.
Do you have an OTP for Italia?
Oh, wait, say again, a what for Italian?
OTP.
It's like, what's your, I figured it meant something like that. I just wanted to make sure. God, like only terrible people. I thought that's what it meant. A one true pairing? No, because I play France, and France is not, France is not, shall we say, monogamy is not his strong suit. Because it's France. And people are like, who's your favorite couple? I'm like, France and everyone. France and the Olympics. So I am fond of France and Britain, England, whatever. Only because all of my French and British friends are horrified at the notion. And Scott Freeman's hot, so what are you gonna do? Thank you, darling. Good question. I love your stockings. Hello, sweetie.
What was your favorite show to work on?
Oh, that's a good question, but I find it more and more difficult as I do more and more to play the favorites game because I have so much fun doing what I do, and it is ridiculous fun. I mean, you have no idea. I get to be in a little padded room all day making crazy voices, and now someone pays me for it. There's a mic there. It's weird. That's new. I used to say all the time, like, I don't play the favorites game, blah, 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 and it's still very difficult. I mean, I've had so much fun doing so many different roles that it's hard to go, that one there, that particular show, that particular character. Because you have to understand something. All of these characters kind of stay in my head, my glasses off my face when I start talking about them. And they do. They become like this big extended family that sort of just hang out in this very, very, very weird brain of mine. And they're always kind of vying to come out and take over my voice, like Jack in the Box drive-thrus. And if I were to pick one at random right now, I promise you I would go back to my hotel room later tonight and be surrounded by 18 of them going, "You're a bastard." We're not going to talk to you for a while. So I'm very reluctant to play the favorites game because I'm insane. And I shouldn't. However, having said that though, probably the most transformative experience I have had working on a show has been STEIN'S. Right? I mean, how many here are fans of the STEIN'S thing? Oh, that's awesome. More and more hands come up every time I ask that question at cons, which makes me very happy. If you have not seen STEIN'S, please treat yourself, become a better person. It really is that amazing of a show. It's about time travel, and it's very real, and it's very crazy, and it's very good. I got to write the adapted scripts along with Patrick Seitz, who you all probably know best as Germany from Italia. Patrick is one of my favorite human beings in the world to work with. He's a dear friend. Not only does he have an amazing voice, but he writes like an angel on crack. He's just amazing, and so we got to work on the adaptive scripts together, and then I wound up playing Okabe, the main character, who is literally the main character, and that he is in every single scene. There is not an Okabe-free moment in the entire show. So I would record for 8 hours a day, come home and write for another 4, because there's a great deal of overlap in the writing and the recording, the way we have to work at such a breakneck speed. And so the result was I could not get away from that character for about 6 months. He was just me, and I was him, and it was crazy. And when it was all over and done with, I was very glad to be done with it, because it was so exhausting, but I have never had a more profound experience recording in the booth. I had a breakdown, I cried at some point. When it was all over and done with, I had a lab coat, because he's very fond of wearing a lab coat. He fancies himself a mad scientist going to take over the world. It was very fun. But I had a lab coat that I would wear while I wrote sometimes, not all the time. And certainly not while I was recording, because that's just weird and unprofessional, and Colleen Blankenbeard, the show's director, would be like, what the hell's wrong with you? But when I was done, like, I had to do something kind of very ritualistic to get that character sort of out of my head for a little while, and that was, I took the lab coat and I burned it. Like in a Viking funeral. Not like, damn you, Okabe! More like this respectful, you know, goodbye, ashes to ashes, blah, 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 get out of my head. So that, I think, and again, I hesitate to call that my favorite experience, but probably the most profound. So, they're all my favorite, Did you hate that answer? Because you're like, oh, way to give me the blanket answer, Tatum. Thank you, sweetheart. Good question. I love your outfit, too, by the way. Oh, hi. Wait, who are you again? Sorry, I love it. I just got back from Canada a couple weeks ago. They're really very nice. There is nothing stranger than having French-Canadian people tell you to do the French laugh. Because you guys are like, do the French laugh. They're like, do the French laugh, asshole. So I'm like, oh. Sorry, what's your question, Ellie? Could you speak to the right? There you go.
I know you're a Dr. Who fan.
Oh, yes. Everybody calm down. Dr. Who fan, yes?
Who is your favorite doctor?
Oh, my favorite doctor. Everyone asks this. Everyone's like, Tennant, shut up. Tennant's a new guy still to me. I love Tennant, don't get me wrong. I love Tennant, I love Matt Smith, I love the new guys. I grew up watching Doctor Who, like, oh my god, you guys weren't even born. No, seriously, that's like, there's a difference in age here that, determines, who your favorite doctor is. Because like when I was wearing safety pins to look cool, you were wearing them to keep your diapers on. I grew up watching Tom Baker. He was my first doctor, the fourth doctor. And that is a very heartwarming response. I would love to meet the man one day because he is genuinely eccentric. He will be the first one to tell you, it is my understanding, that is not acting. That's just Tom being Tom. He is really an alien, I'm sure, and he time travels. And he's crazy. I mean, I would love to sit down and buy him a drink and just like watch him go. That much and listen to him for hours. I aspire to be that amazingly nutty when I'm that age. I'm working on it, getting there. But having said that, I mean, you never ever forget your first doctor, ever. And that's why so many people love Tennant, because Tennant was their first doctor. So yay, and he's pretty to look at. So we're not made of stone, are we? But now that I've gone back years ago and seen all the old stuff, and I've seen all the old stuff that's around. Quite a bit of it's been forgotten or lost, but all the stuff that is still available, I have seen or heard in audiobook form, or got the Big Finish audio stuff during the wilderness years. I mean, I'm serious about this, guys. You think, it's like, oh, I had some guy yesterday at the panel going, oh, got a Doctor Who question. I'm like, you don't scare me. Bring it. But Troughton, the second Doctor, is my favorite. Because I think, and let me ramble on this for a moment, because I think he was the first guy to take over the role from someone else, and everyone was like, who is this jerk? We hate him, he's not the first guy. And he was such a wonderful actor and so kind of zany in his interpretation of the character and everything. And he really liked the idea of the aliens and the traveling to different planets and the monsters made of tinfoil. He encouraged the writing team to explore that. So we have not only him to thank for the concept of regeneration, and the very idea of multiple actors being able to take up the mantle of the Doctor and carry it on 50 years later, but we have him to thank for the very tone of the show. Because in the early days, it was very much not that. You had the occasional monster episode, but under Hartnell, the first Doctor, who was wonderful in his own way, of course, and I love him as well. The show was more kind of a time-traveling costume period piece drama where they'd be like in the Elizabethan era, they'd be in the Aztec days or something like that. When Troughton took over the role, he was like, oh yes, monsters, ice warriors, Cybermen, let's do all of it. And it was fun. He's like the crazy uncle that shows up to your birthday and gives you a really inappropriate gift and then takes you on something, an adventure, that you're like, wow, this guy's crazy, but I love him. When he's around, good, crazy things are going to happen. And I love people like that. I aspire to be one. So, thank you. Good question. Dr. Who love. Hi, darling.
What's your favorite Disney movie?
Favorite Disney movie? Ooh, it's a toss-up between Sleeping Beauty. Right. I love Sleeping Beauty. I just love the style. And, really, really, really love Beauty and the Beast. I relate to it. I wanted to be Mrs. Potts when I grow up. I was in Disney World recently there was a convention and they took us to the park, which was awesome. I hadn't been since I was a kid. And there was, Belle was traipsing about in Epcot Center in France, of course. And I'm like, I'm so many things right about what's happening right now. And I felt too stupid to go and ask for a picture. I was like, oh no, I can't do it. And so the guy I was with was like, I'm gonna go talk to her and get a picture. And so she's like, come. I'm like, come, let's go talk to me. She's like, bonjour. I'm like, she's
about Steins Gate.
Steins Gate, yes.
In the dub. In the original Japanese dub, they had American, like actual American accent.
Yes.
Where they talked about sexual phenotypes. How did you feel about that?
I think it's hysterical. I mean, in the original Japanese of Steins Gate is really, really amazing, and we always take that as kind of our inspiration, our point of departure when we're working on the dubs, always. It was a huge challenge because there are many moments in the show where the characters will suddenly just use an English phrase and use it in a very Japanese way. And it's funny, and especially when it's funny when like Okabe is saying, "I'm a mad scientist, you son of a bitch," and you're like, that's brilliant. How can we possibly do that in English because he's supposed to be speaking English in our version and he can't just suddenly go into a Japanese accent. It's enormously, it doesn't work. So we worked around it by other ways, and like, I love Patrick Seitz is the one who wrote the line where he started speaking jive instead of English in our version, where he's talking to one guy on the street and he's like, "Word to your mother," and it's funny because he doesn't sound like that that's Okabe trying to be cool, and he's not very good at being cool. And it worked. I thought it worked really, really well. So I liked it because it presents a challenge to a writer. We're like, wow, okay, what do we do with this? Because now they're speaking in English. And the last thing you want to do in a dub is play up the fact that, yeah, this was originally in Japanese. I mean, it's not that, we're trying to hide the fact. It's just that we want the audience to be sucked into the moment. And if you suddenly have them do this, and you're like, well, that's not funny anymore, because the essence of the comedy in the Japanese version was the fact that he's suddenly switching over to very, very bad English. We can't do that because he's already in English, and there's no reason, there's no motivation for him to start speaking bad English because he's English. He's English in this version and he speaks English well, so there's no reason he would suddenly go, "I'm a mad scientist." So we decided to have him say other things and have him speak in an idiom that wasn't his own, which was just as funny. So I feel very strongly, as do many of us writers for shows like this, that in the difference between like the original and the dub should suck you in such a way that our philosophy is that, for example, that the line should be funny. The subtitle version should tell you exactly what's being said in the Japanese. The dub should make you laugh. And that's something we try to follow as closely as we can. And again, that was Patrick Seitz's genius working around that, and I thought it was great. It was really fun to say in the movie, I thought, oh, we're gonna get letters. And we did it, it was great. So, thank you. Thank you, sir. Hello. Hello. Don't be afraid of the mic, you can get closer to it. There you are.
Italian season 5 is cool. Do you like their new drawing style or not?
I haven't seen it. I have not. I haven't seen it yet. I try to keep blissfully ignorant of what's coming down the wire so that I don't get all antsy about it, because I have no idea when we'll start recording that. They don't tell me anything. Could be tomorrow for all I know. But I don't. I haven't seen. Is the drawing style new? This is the first I've heard of it being like. France is beautiful? Well, then I approve of that. I love it. I love it on principle before even seeing it. I sparkle? Alright, so he's a Twilight vampire now. I don't know how I feel about that. Wow, oh my god. It's so nice. I'll get back to you on that. I think whatever they do is great, because that show is hilarious, and that show can encompass any number of styles and things and still be wonderful and Italia, so I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be like, oh, I can't work like this. Tell them to redraw it. I don't like that France sparkles. I love that France sparkles. Now they're going to make me wear sparkles in addition to the damn Snuggie. Not looking forward to that, because glitter does not come off. You have glitter for ages and ages and ages. Oh my god. I'll be fabulous. I'll be fabulous and things will be in my eye. Oh yes, hello everyone. Oh god, more glitter! It's like a magic trick. Thank you, darling. Oh, give us a short rant. Whatever, you short people are like, I hate tall people. It is not a tall person's world, my dear.
No.
Have you ever run into a fire sprinkler? I don't think so. I do all the time.
No, tall guy, Sebastian. What's it like having a master shorter than me?
He's not that much shorter than you. Oh, okay. The hair doesn't count for height, darling.
Yes, it does!
It's nice. I like short people are great. I love short people. They're fun sized. They're pocket sized. They're easy to smuggle into places. Don't worry. One day you'll. No, you won't. Never mind. You'll always be short. Always be short. But you'll always be adorable. I will have terrible posture. And, no, I'm sorry, I'm lying to you. It's so much better being tall. I don't know how you deal with it, I really don't. Such a jerk. Love you. Love you. You look great, though. You really do look fantastic. See, I couldn't pull that off. I would look like a Valkyrie. I'd be like, who are you? Brunhilde? Hello! Wait, sorry, speak to the mic just a little closer. You have to get really close and intimate with it. Make love to the mic, sir.
Oh, God.
Go.
I'll ask a little bit about the scripting process that you do on shows like STEIN'S.
Yeah.
How do you go out and work with it? I just creative writing myself, and sometimes it's hard for me to try to get into it and to keep up with it. And there are often times when I can. Morning I look at my script and say, how did I write?
Oh, and you will do that all the time. I still do it myself, and I'm a professional. So scripting is, in terms of like getting yourself to do it, nothing motivates you like a paycheck and a deadline. And a head writer like John Berkmeyer, who is amazing at what he does and who knows writers like very well. Yes, so you need to do this now. I'm a big literature nerd as well. I grew up reading all the time. It was very, very difficult for me to make friends when I was young, but I was another nothing like the glorious creature you see before you now. And so I tended to get into novels and literature and poetry, especially when I was very young, and still do because that was kind of my contact with other people. Most of the people I knew that I considered friends were fictional. But the plus side to that is while they may not have been flesh and blood friends, because I encountered them through literature, through this really pregnant medium of words, I was able to inhabit their being more than you can even a very close flesh and blood friend, as it were, because I've always loved the phrase that we read because, you just don't have a chance to know that many people, truly know that many people in life. And so I credit my feeling at home in a number of various contexts, in a number of various different types of situations with various sorts of people to reading. Because I kind of feel at home everywhere I go now, because I've encountered this situation or that situation or this kind of person before, somewhere in literature, if you know what to look for, if you read doggedly, as I do. I bring that to the table when I write, and I love it, because to me, the whole point of getting into a show like Steins Gate, or whatever anime is your favorite, is you're moved by the characters. The situation, the world, the backdrop, all of that is fabulous and very necessary. But if the characters inhabiting it aren't interesting and aren't people that you feel at least fascinated by me, you don't even have to like them, but as long as they compel you, that's what, the story could be about almost anything. And everything else is just window dressing. And what I love about adaptive writing is that I feel it gives me a chance to focus on character, because as an adaptive writer, I don't have any say-so on who lives or dies, who falls in love with whom, what the next twist or turn is going to be. That's all there. The plot scaffolding is in place. My job is to flesh it out with dialogue and make certain that the characters come across as distinct and compelling. And so because of that, I get to focus on what I think the most important aspect of character, at least when it's presented dramatically, is each of us has our own unique and individual relationship to language and how we use it to express ourselves. And exploring what makes a person tick and how they think, you have to look at their relationship to language and how they use it, and how, they're not just their vocabulary, but I mean, they're the nuance, the things they won't say, the things they do say, because that's the sort of fundamental irony of language for all of us, is that however articulate we might be, we always use it to evade communication in a strange way. very few of us ever just speak directly what we mean. We feel like we have to sort of dance around the point. But that tension, that dramatic tension created by that fundamental use of language is what makes character so fascinating. And as long as I bear that in mind, any character is great. Any character I can get my hands on is great. I can use them, and I love to put characters. I love writing ensemble pieces where you have a bunch of characters all with very different backgrounds, like almost like a hierarchy. And so they each have their own way of speaking. They each have their own sort of set of tropes and vocabulary words that come up, so that I may have a person that would say a word like in absentia right next to a person who would use the word douche. Why not? It's a word, it works, and this person it does, and that person it doesn't, so it's fun. I am fascinated by that. And it's an obsession of mine, this idea of our relationship to language, and it drives me to continually write. So whenever I'm having a difficult time getting through that deadline and burning the midnight oil trying to make a line work, I bear that in mind, because to me, getting to play in this wonderful adaptive script writing atmosphere is like, it's like being in a laboratory where I get to experiment with what language can be bent to mean, and I love that. That is one of my premier passions. Thank you for bringing that up. That's a really good question. I don't get to talk about the writing very often. Thank you, fellow mad scientist. Hello, darling.
I have two questions. One, what inspired you to be a voice actor? And what was it like working on the set for Corpus Princess?
Corpse Princess was amazing. I got to work with Terry Doty, one of my dear friends who directed it, right? If those of you who don't know who Terry Doty is, look her up. She's amazing. She's my dear friend, and we do that anime show together.
Woo!
Her husband, Steven. It was great working on that show. I loved playing Keisei as well, because Keisei was a very, very cool character. I really liked him. I felt very much akin with him, but especially the way he treated Ori. Oh, poor Ori. As far as what inspired me to be a voice actor, I actually got into this business sort of by accident. Well, not by accident, I was tricked. But I was an actor very long ago, and what inspired me to be an actor is the fact that I didn't speak well. I actually had a very debilitating speech impediment when I was a kid, so that I was very quiet, almost utterly speechless for most of my youth, from the ages of, whenever most people start talking at about 9. I didn't speak at all, but my speech therapist, who was this little British lady, and her name was actually Mrs. Britt, true story, and she was this ridiculously cute old woman with like 4 feet tall and like a gray bun of hair that accounted for like a full foot of that height. And she would say things like, "Hello, darling, let's put this candy on your tongue if you say this correctly." That's the reason even though I'm from Texas, I don't sound like everyone else in my family, because I'm never very far from a British accent, because I learned to speak from a British lady. But we found that the stutter would tend to disappear completely if I could read from something else that drew me into poetry and drama and whatnot, and scripts. Because if I could read aloud, if I could recite, then I could talk eloquently, I could elocute, I could enunciate, and I could even find power in my voice if I did that. And so I started looking into acting, because the ability to put someone else's words into my mouth and to take the burden away from me of having to come up with them on my own freed me to have a voice, and it taught me how to basically be someone who can communicate. So acting was sort of my doorway to the world at large, and it still is in many ways, because I'm actually a very, very shy person. I know it doesn't always seem that way because I'm so effervescent and crazy and energetic, but when I go home, I promise you, like, you people are wonderful, and I love it here because I'm home among nerds, my own kind. So, very, very relaxed. But, when I'm in the quote-unquote real world, which sucks, I'm very shy, and I usually have to play a role of some kind just to get to break the ice with someone. So that's what inspires me. Thank you, darling. You guys ask really good questions. This is fun. Hello, you're stroking Sebastian's head. What a perfectly reasonable person you seem to be.
I have a quick question.
Uh-huh.
Sebastian, I would love you to talk like a
GPS.
I have a GPS that has a British accent as well. And it's funny because it's a her, and she'll be like, it's funny how pissed she gets if you miss a turn. At the next available U-turn, turn left. route and go back. And like, we have roads in Texas that are just called farm roads, it's like FM 191, but for some reason, in the British tone, they always call them the Federated States of Micronesia. So it's like, turn left at Federated States of Micronesia, 142. And you're like, what the hell is she talking about? Turn right at the light. Sebastian would be ridiculously specific. He wouldn't know street names. He would be like, turn left at the slightly wonky cobblestone there in the corner. The broken gas light, turn left. That, thank you. Yeah. Oh, you missed your turn. Never mind. I'll just blow up this building if we go.